All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to be detectives, you and I. We're going to solve a really interesting mechanical mystery that pops up under the hood of a Honda. So let's grab our magnifying glasses and dive right in. Okay, picture this. You're just driving along, minding your own business, and then boom, that little check engine light comes on. Now, it's not just there to annoy you, right? It's a clue. Your car is literally trying to tell you something, and it's our job to decipher that code. And the specific message we are investigating today is a sneaky one. We are officially on the case of trouble code P2279. Yep, that's the name of our culprit. So what in the world is P2279? Well, in plain English, it means the car's computer has found a leak in the intake air system. The engine is sucking in air that it's not supposed to be, air that it can't measure. And believe me, that throws the whole operation out of whack. But you might be wondering, why is a little extra air such a big deal? And how does the car's computer, the brains of the operation, even know there's a leak in the first place? Well, that is the real mystery we need to decode. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you're trying to drink a milkshake through a straw, but there's a tiny hole in the side of it. You're going to get more air than milkshake, right? It's super frustrating and just doesn't work well. That is exactly what's happening to your engine. It's struggling because it's getting all this extra air it never asked for. You know, the car's computer is actually a brilliant little detective. It's not just guessing. It is constantly monitoring data, looking for very specific evidence, and if it spots one of two particular scenarios, it knows it has an open and shut case. Let's see what that evidence looks like. And this is how it catches the culprit. It's all about comparing two different readings. In condition A, it's thinking, hey, engine pressure is low, so why is there a ton of air coming in? Or in condition B, it sees the pressure is higher, but the airflow is still way more than it should be. If the sensors report either of these mismatches, that's it. The computer flags it and triggers the P2279 code. Okay, so we have a crime scene. We know an air leak has happened. Now it's time to do what all good detectives do, line up the usual suspects. In our investigation, there are 4 main offenders who are almost always behind this code. So let's take a look at our lineup. Here they are. First, vacuum leaks. Then we've got incorrect camshaft timing, a bit of a wild card. Next up, a faulty MAF sensor. And finally, damaged vacuum lines. Each one has a different way of causing trouble, but they all lead to the same P2279 code. So let's interrogate these suspects one by one. Our number one suspect almost every time is a good old-fashioned vacuum leak. This could be coming from a few different places, like a cracked PCV, that's the positive crankcase ventilation hose, maybe a bad seal on the throttle body, or even the brake booster hose. Any little crack or break in these parts lets that unmeasured air sneak in, and that leads to all sorts of performance problems. All right, now for a suspect that's a little less obvious, incorrect camshaft timing. Now, this one's tricky. It might not seem related to an air leak, right? But if the engine's valves are opening and closing at the wrong moments because the timing chain slipped, well, it can totally fool the sensors into thinking there's a leak. It's a classic case of mistaken identity. Suspect number 3 is an inside job. We're talking about a faulty mass airflow sensor, or MAF sensor. Think of this thing as the gatekeeper. Its entire job is to measure exactly how much air is coming into the engine. But if that gatekeeper is giving bad info, the computer can't make the right fuel calculations and might wrongly assume there's a leak. And that brings us to our 4th and final suspect, damaged vacuum lines. These little rubber hoses are everywhere in an engine bay, but over time, with all that heat, they get brittle, they crack, and they create these tiny, hard-to-find leaks that can cause major headaches. It's a classic textbook cause for this problem. So, we've got our lineup. We know who the potential culprits are. Now, how does a professional mechanic actually solve the case? Well, there's a very logical path they follow to find out who's really responsible. And here's the game plan. You start with the most likely and easiest thing to check. You just look for obvious vacuum leaks. If you come up empty, you move on to the more involved stuff, like checking the camshaft timing. After that, you test the MAF sensor to make sure it's sending good data. And finally, you'd go over every single vacuum line with a fine-tooth comb. It's all a process of elimination. So by following these steps, a technician can isolate the exact problem. And once the culprit is busted and the fix is made, well, that's when you get a happy ending for everyone involved, especially the car. And there you have it. The leak is sealed. or the bad sensor is replaced, or the timing is put back where it belongs, that annoying check engine light finally goes off. But more importantly, the car is back to running the way it should: smooth, powerful, and efficient. Case closed. So the real takeaway here is that a check engine light isn't just a warning, it's the start of an investigation. It's a puzzle. And once you understand the clues, you can solve the mystery. Now that we've cracked this case together, what other automotive mysteries are you itching to figure out?